to pray. There's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody, this is Kirisho here. Now, whenever I last left off, Izuki had just teamed up with Bakugo to take down Todoroki and Momo during the Heroes vs. Villains. Also, Bakugo got offered One for All by All Might, and they would have spent the next couple weeks going to and actually training at the gym. Now, Izuki, in that time, she was spending it meditating and actually trying to calm down and think about things clearly. Things have been a bit more stressful since the start of school, so she would just light some candles and begin to meditate, as she is thinking on things. Now, while that's going on, Bakugo, he is actually on the other side of town, pumping iron and actually trying to get stronger and stronger as much as possible. Now, All Might does think he is ready, but after seeing him work out this intensely and watch him just training over and over again, along with the fact that his attitude towards it is a bit bad, he would have somewhat tried working on, if not trying to have Bakugo spar with him, so he can at least try and break Bakugo's cocky personality and get him to chill the fuck out. Now, that may seem like it's over-exaggerating or anything like that, but Bakugo, finding that he can't take down All Might even with his own power, he now sees why All Might was keen to not pick him, but at least provide this challenge. As All Might would begin the day by teaching Bakugo different techniques with lifting, sparring, and doing all that, and then the two would be fighting most of the time. In that amount of time, Bakugo has broken down, if not completely utterly changed. His personality was already different than in canon, but this time it's a bit more different, because he did have an event in his past where he did accidentally hurt somebody. He hurt them with his quirk by accident and actually led them to having a scar. Afterwards, he did somewhat keep on that cocky personality, but not as a means of, he's better than everyone else, you can't do shit to me. It was just a way of hiding it. Hiding the fear of his own quirk. Hiding the fact that this world he lives in, he thinks he may be able to break it. With just his fingers, if not at the touch of his hands. So it scares Bakugo. So after a while, Bakugo would have actually somewhat warmed up to All Might's style of training and become less cocky. He would have done this out of respect, just dropping his act and completely changing, which All Might would have taken an immediate notice to after 2 weeks. Now, he would have asked Bakugo about this, and these two would just begin to talk a little bit, as All Might would finally offer Bakugo One for All, giving him the quirk and actually having him somewhat test it the next day, where he would have broken his arm. Now, he would have gone to Recover Girl and got healed, but that is now where I'm going to be leaving that point off on, as we will now be cutting over to... Alright, now, we will be cutting over to the actual USJ. Izuki, Icy Hot, and Momo, they are all on the bus, along with Bakugo actually acting a bit more friendly towards everyone, and them all being a bit off-put by this. As all of them are talking, they're talking more about their quirks, and Bakugo would just bring up one thing. He actually does have a secondary quirk, it's just a bit harder to control, which no one would really believe, and he would just spark up his own quirk, saying that, believe it or not, he's full of surprises. Just think about it. Besides, you have Trigon's daughter. Now, Bakugo would have somewhat looked over to Izuki as she would have just looked back at him, immediately taking out her headphone asking if he said something, which he would just say that he does have a question about her. Your quirks, or quirk, what exactly do you specify it as? Oh, actually, it's a bit difficult to explain. You see, I can't actually fly, but I use the telekinesis to do so. I also have telepathy, which is part of another ability I have. Wait, how many abilities do you have? Empath, telepathy, telekinesis, darkness, and I want to say that's about it. That is a lot of things to do. Well, it's kind of a mix of both my parents' quirks. Although the darkness, the doctors are kind of trying to figure that out. Because it usually sometimes acts like fire. Oh, so that may have been how your parents' quirks mixed. Well, possibly. But it's a bit more difficult than that. It's kind of a bit of a medical anomaly, but I didn't take on any aspects of my dad. It's kind of weird. Now, as that was all going on, this was whenever Aizawa would have instructed them all to get off the bus. And they would have done so, finally walking into the USJ. They are all in their hero outfits as Todoroki and Aunt Momo. They're talking, and Izuki would join the conversation. They're doing that as the villains would finally arrive and begin to attack the USJ. Them immediately being teleported away after Aizawa threw himself into the fight. Now, after that happened, Izuki is falling toward the boat as she would just begin to fly. She would lower herself down onto it as Asui, she would jump on, and she does throw Shinsho onto the deck. As he would just say that was a bit rough, don't you think? Well, sorry. Can't blame ya. Better than being in the water with the villains. Villains? Now she immediately turns her head, looking off the boat. They're completely surrounded, but she immediately just freezes for a second before realizing that she can fly. Don't worry, it won't be that much of a threat. What are you talking about? As they all begin to lift off the ground. She immediately just brings them up into the air as they begin to fly away. Flying back to shore, she would immediately just turn around, holding out her hand, blasting darkness into the water, as she starts watching the water swirl around as she's just stirring her hand, if not just waving her hands outwards, as she basically put 2 bars of darkness downwards and began to move them. Basically, if you were to put a mixer into a cake, or into a batter and start moving it around to create a whirlpool. Now, after that happened, they would have gone back to shore, as Izuki immediately begins by running over and actually flying up into the sky. She immediately begins by just moving around, if not moving her hands around, making villains smash their heads together and actually smashing them into each other. Kirigiri would have been watching this as he would tell... Shigaraki would be watching this as he would tell Kirigiri to summon the Nomu. And the Nomu would be summoned. Now, she would immediately look at this thing as she does start blasting darkness at it. She's actually trying to figure out a good way to take these villains down, because the other ones, she is very easy to take down. However, this Nomu, as Shigaraki called it, she just kept trying to wrap it in change, but the Nomu just kept breaking through them and actually smashing through. Now, as this is happening, Todoroki and Momo, they are dealing with their own separate scenarios. Todoroki would actually help Bakugo, as they both landed in the disaster zone where it is raining and buildings are on fire, as they would immediately begin to run over and actually try and look for everyone else. Tokoyami doing the same, joining them as they would have taken down all the villains. Now, with that, they would have eventually found Momo and everyone else, Jiro and Kaminari, and they would have helped them with the villains, as Momo is immediately asking if anyone knows where Izuki is. Now, they would have immediately looked over as they see Izuki flying in the air, holding back the Nomu with darkness chains. The Nomu just breaking through them constantly over and over as she would just keep wrapping them up until it's at the point where she's actually on the ground, and this is whenever Bakugo, he would immediately just take off running. As he would have immediately stepped off, with his leg immediately blasting forward. Everyone would be in shock as Bakugo immediately just runs in, and he just broke his leg. He would have immediately come in with the left hook, smashing it upwards into the Nomu's face, letting off an explosion, blowing off its beak, as he thinks that just did it. However, he would immediately recoil in pain as his arm did snap. Now then, this is whenever Bakugo, he would just look as he turns his head after hitting the ground, seeing that the Nomu's feet are still in front of him, as he does look up. Kirigiri orders the Nomu to just kill Bakugo, and he would immediately watch as the Nomu brings his hand up, and he would just bring up his right arm. As the Nomu smashes downwards, Izuki immediately just covers him, if not jumps over to him, and puts up a shield of darkness, as the Nomu is smashing down. Now, the Nomu actually did crack it, as she immediately just repaired it. Bakugo is watching as she's just holding this thing back with darkness, as the Nomu keeps smashing down over and over again, and Bakugo keeps trying to insult her and get her angry, so that she'll actually just keep doing this, if not keep up the shield. Todoroki would have blasted ice immediately over to the Nomu as the Nomu would have come to bring his arm down, smashing into the shield, and immediately just having its arm snap off, as it would regenerate, doing the same over and over again. Now, Bakugo's yelling at Izuki that this is pointless and they need to get out of here, as one simple thing happens. The bubble immediately just stops forming as she's just holding up a wall, immediately just holding out her hand, immediately just pushing Bakugo away. As the Nomu keeps smashing into, if not breaking through the glass, finally immediately going to smash his arms down. But she just brought up her arms to guard herself, as this actually did snap one of them. She would begin to scream as one simple thing happens. She loses control. Now, Izuki, she immediately does one thing. She immediately drops the shield as she blasts her hand upwards, up into the Nomu's chest. As she does that, she immediately conjures up a giant raven, immediately just grabbing the Nomu by the shoulders and immediately just flying away with it. As she gets up off the ground, she just begins to have her eyes spark red. Now everyone watching immediately sees as her cape and cowl go flying away, and she immediately just gets red, her skin turning red and her hair turning white, as she manifests two more eyes and immediately begins to scream. Now they're all in shock as she can't even hold up one of her hands, but she's just blasting away at them. In fact, she's blasting away at the villains. Immediately doing so, the raven that took the Nomu away would immediately just smash it down onto the ground and immediately begin tearing into it. As she immediately would walk over and just begin by just throwing as much concrete and rubble into it as possible. She begins ripping apart the USJ as if it's just nothing, immediately just smashing the Nomu to pieces, as it would just regenerate and pop out of any given situation. Her getting more annoyed to the point where, finally, All Might would arrive. As he comes bursting to the door, he just sees a ginormous shadow, if not a ginormous red bird, doing this, as he's immediately in shock. Now, he immediately is looking around, as most of the villains, they're trying to hide and retreat, while Izuki just keeps blasting away at them. Now, All Might would immediately run over, as he would grab her by the shoulders and immediately turn her around. Seeing that it's her, he's in shock. He just tries to tell her to snap out of it and to get control of herself. As the Nomu comes flying in, he would immediately just somewhat move her out of the way as he immediately brings up his arm, blocking the hit and immediately going to punch at it. As soon as he makes contact, he immediately sends the Nomu flying away. Now, He's just smashed it as hard as humanly possible. As the Numu's arm was actually absorbed so much shock it exploded. Now, as All Might begins to battle with the Nomu, he actually does push himself up to 1,000,000%. However, with less strain. Now, him and the Nomu will be having an epic battle, as Izuki is still losing it. Now, Momo and Todoroki would have run over, as they immediately just grab at her. Todoroki immediately forming a pathway of ice, and Momo just launching, if not going, running up it, and tackling her to the ground, as they try and shake her out of it. Immediately finding that her power is going haywire. It's switching through so many different colors that it's insane. Black, blue, red, yellow, you name it. It's going crazy and haywire. In fact, it's even turned pink. What's going on? Now, as this is happening, Momo and Todoroki, they're feeling all these different emotions. They begin to cry, they begin to feel sorrow, they feel happy, they feel mad. They're not sure what's going on. As finally, Momo would just smack Izuki across the face, and through a moment of levity, there's a bright light. As Izuki would stand up off the ground, and she's looking around. A bit confused, as Momo asks if she's okay. She would say that she's fine. We're all fine, Momo. Wait, why'd you say that twice? What do you mean? Hey, I haven't said anything yet. Are you sure? Because you're getting real annoying. Are you guys okay? Now, as the fog clears, they're watching as there are a lot of different Izukis standing all around. They're not even sure how to process this, as all these ones begin to act up. There is one hiding her face in her cowl, and there's one who's just really pissed off. As they're trying to manage who is actually who. Until the one in the pink cowl immediately walks up to her, gives her a hug, and tells her that she's her best friend. While the one that's balanced is somewhat just standing there trying to figure this out. The one that's angry just keeps shouting at the one that keeps acting very rude. While the one that is wise is trying to figure this out too. The one that's brave will be trying to fight against the villains, while the one that's love is just taking in the world around her. Now, they're trying to figure this all out. Todoroki? Yeah, you're not seeing it. I'm seeing it too. As everyone in Class 1A would finally run over, along with All Might and the rest of the teachers. Trigon is there, and he would see the one that has rage in her face, if not with the red skin. He would immediately look down at her as he asked her what's going on. Do you mind explaining this, young lady? Why should I have to explain it to you? Hey, I'm just asking a question. I've been into this situation before, but not on this type of scale. Well, of course not. What do you expect? Well, the one that's being rude immediately just does one thing. She belches as loud as humanly possible, giving President Mike a run for his money. Now, bravery and balance, they're just staring at this as they're confused. Now, with that, this is whenever the one that is happiness and love, they would walk over and pick up Bakugo, as they actually ask if he needs to see a recovery girl, which he would just say yes, as they would help him go see her. Now, this is a bit confusing as the Ravens would go home, or the Izukis, and Inko is somewhat freaking out about this. Now, this is where Trigon, he's hoping she can help him. Recovery Girl and everyone else, they've at least tried, but they're not sure how to figure this out. What is the last thing all of you remember? I'm not sure. Yeah, all I remember is actually waking up on that battlefield. All I remember is being pissed off. All of you need to be quiet, as the one in white would speak up, explaining that whatever has happened, this has been very difficult. In fact, this is quite weird. Now, after that whole after all these ones being to argue and going over more and more, Inko would hear the phone ring as she makes her way over to it, picking it up, and it is Aizawa. He would explain that after exactly what happened with the USJ, she may have some luck. If whatever's going on with Izuki is figured out, she can possibly participate in the sports festival. However, it's going to be more complicated than that. I've never seen a case like this. Do you know why this happened to her? No, Mr. Aizawa, this is actually a first. In fact, I was hoping to know what had happened. Well, from what I heard, she lost her mind on a battlefield. In fact, she's somewhat, well, a student tried jumping in to help her as she was just trying to protect more students. Whatever happened, it apparently triggered something. All I remember seeing is her getting her, well, shield or defensive thing, whatever she likes to do with those bubbles, shattered over and over again. Oh dear, no. That must be what's behind all of this. Yes, but also your daughter's empath. That's the name of the quirk, correct? Oh yeah, but we never expected this to be how it works. Well, I mean, quirks are weird, but this could be possibly a good ability. How is this in any way good? Well, albeit odd, it's versatile. So, she may actually need whatever is happening right now, because she always seems a bit odd in class. Always sticking to herself. Well, okay, thank you, Mr. Aizawa. As she would hang up with the phone, quite a bit annoyed. Now, she would walk back into the other room as Momo and Todoroki are talking and trying to figure out exactly what the fuck is going on. Now then, with that being said, that is where I'm going to leave this part off, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and yes, if you guys are wondering why I just did that in this episode, literally I had the option to, and Empath, it being the type of quirk it is, I figured this is how I can have her use it. Also, I do remember the fact that Raven, she sometimes does this if she is unstable. I remember seeing it in the original Teen Titans whenever I was younger, and I realized I could use it. Along with the fact I probably threw a lot of you guys for a loop. Now, with that being said, I'm going to be leaving this part off of here, guys, and I do hope you enjoyed.